Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated the proposition that all men are created equal. Well-known words of our 16th President, Abraham Lincoln. Without a doubt, Abraham Lincoln answered the call to leadership and made a significant difference in the history of this nation, if not mankind. In this edition of Columbia Union Story, I want to share stories of members here in the Columbia Union that have answered the call to leadership. Without a doubt, I believe you'll be blessed by their stories of courage and vision. Let me share.
What happens when a young adult answers the Columbia Union's call to experience the mission? To find the answer, we went to Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, where Christina Ivankina, a public school English teacher, decided to hold an evangelistic series for young adults, by young adults.
Christina has always, since I've been here, I've known her now almost 6 years that we've been here, and she's always kind of had that passion for sharing the good news of Jesus. So she almost offhandedly mentioned it to me, you know, that she'd like to try something new.
The church is so supportive, like when it comes to like young people wanting to participate in things. I knew that they would be supportive from the beginning. So I just mentioned to them at a board meeting about what I was thinking and about how I wanted it to be just a social and a relational type atmosphere. I didn't want to be hitting the the big fundamental beliefs or, all those things, but really the hardcore, which to me is the deepest thing there is that relationship with Jesus, where we have to find that need for Him in our lives.
Christina is a member of the Pennsylvania Conference's Lewisburg Church, which was planted in 2000. After attending conference training events and learning that 2009 is the year of evangelism, she shared with her father her desire to get involved.
Christina had shared with me, over the phone that she wanted to have a series of meetings that she had a vision to do and for the youth and young adults that would be put on by the youth and young adults, and I thought this was fantastic.
Instead of a traditional church setting, she held her first evangelistic meeting at the local YMCA.
I know in my own experience when I was young, I never would have had the nerve to even think of doing that, be bold enough to go out.
When we take an active part, that gives us the opportunity to change things, and that gives us a voice in the church.
The YMCA is known locally as the place to go for physical bodybuilding, but for 4 consecutive Sunday nights, it was transformed to the place to go for spiritual bodybuilding.
I think the whole atmosphere was very laid back at these evangelistic series. I mean, we all wore jeans and black shirts so that we kind of connected up front.
And she asked if we would all be able to help with the music. And I'm really busy, but I said, well, yeah, I'll help out.
It was very sociable type meetings so that people could feel very relaxed. There was time at the beginning, time at the end, so people could just, hang out and talk.
Though she was raised a Seventh-day Adventist, Christina had grown up attending the local public schools and made friends who didn't know Christ. She was excited when her family volunteered to help plant a church in an unentered area.
Year 2000, a group of us from the Williamsport Seventh-day Adventist Church, we was encouraged by the pastor to plant a new church in an area to the south where we didn't have any church presence. And so 25 of us planted the church in the Lewisburg area. And since 2000, we have now grown to 75 members at this time.
Inspired by her Lewisburg church family's previous evangelistic efforts, Christina began recruiting her friends to plan a series of evangelistic meetings that would appeal to her generation.
The reactions, they were very happy. A lot of people came up to me, and even the first night when I felt like I didn't quite say everything I wanted to, I was a little bit unsure, I had several people come up and say, that was just what I needed, or those were just the right words. And they said to me, I really want to bring someone to this.
Complementing her nightly teaching with a generous use of media and music, Christina placed a special focus on meeting the social needs of the young adults in attendance, helping them to not only connect with each other, but with God.
She said this was geared for all the youth and young adult, but she wanted, the whole church involved any way they could. She asked me to be helpful in helping getting the crews together to set up the equipment, the sound equipment, and the video equipment. And
attendance at the meetings averaged around 30 young adults. Because of the enthusiastic response, Christina and her church family planned to continue the meetings on a monthly basis.
It's about being real, and I wanted it to be real, and so, this was my opportunity and my chance. And so I think at first it was like, I need to say the right thing, I need to, do the right thing.
She presented well, but she, in her nervousness, kind of forgot some things that she wanted to share, and at the end she was very frustrated, very upset with herself.
But, after the first night, I really felt like it wasn't about trying to say the right thing or, trying to make it perfect, but it was really just about letting God speak through me and trusting in Him.
Seeing the confidence grow then from the next couple of weeks as I've talked to her, outside of the meetings, she saw that she was really going to make an impact one way or another on these young adults' lives.
And I felt like after the first night, He really gave me the words and the things that I needed to say for them.
From what I understand, later on in the seminar, nights 3 and 4, people who were coming were inviting their friends to come too. So all of a sudden it went from just being the people that she invited and people she knew to now the people that she'd invited inviting other people to come to be a part of it.
Truly, God is at work, and He is using young adults like Christina to pave the way.
as a church, we need to use our young people. And a lot of us sometimes are apprehension that they can't do it right or something, but I'll tell you, they can do a far better job than we can when you realize it.
If I could just say to anybody who would maybe be thinking about doing something like this or has an urge in their heart, like they want to do something, but they're not sure, I just think that you should really pray about it and go for it and do it, because, now is the time to get out there and act. And I think, we need to take a stand, and I think that it's good to be bold, and we should go out there and do it. And don't be afraid, because people will support you. I'm very happy to be part of Pennsylvania Conference and Columbia Union, because they're very supportive about witnessing and reaching others. I mean that completely.
Christina's brave initiative has lit a fire in her church and community, inspiring still others to experience the mission. Experiencing the mission is contagious. Nowhere is there a better example than in the region of Lanham and Bowie, Maryland, where a surge of evangelistic activity birthed out of a group Bible study is quickly becoming God's special instrument to evangelize the greater portion of Prince George's County.
A group of people got together in faith and prayed, then coupled their faith with works, and then at that point simply watched what God would do.
This latest addition to the Potomac Conference has experienced the rich blessings that occur when a group of enthusiastic members step out on faith. This church plant of the Community Praise Center in Alexandria, Virginia, was the dream of youth pastor Melvin Hayden III. Called the Lanham Bowie Project, it started as a small group Bible study meeting in the home of a local doctor.
Over a 3 to 4 year period, we had Bible studies on Friday nights. There was a group of about 20 of us. We would move from house to house, and we would study preparation for the final crisis. We studied amazing facts. We studied the sanctuary.
We got to a stage where we were worshiping out of a high school, and we needed to scale back and kind of regroup. And we all knew that we did not want to see this movement die, and that's how I like to refer to this project as a movement, because that's what we're part of, working and staying mobilized for God's work. So I started formalizing a schedule, and that really was the tie-in. We need a little more structure to tighten up, and we just didn't want to see this movement die.
We stuck with it. Pastor Mitchell and Pastor Sanique were really the glue that held the group together for those 3 years until we were able to have our first Sabbath in the church.
The Bowie Project had gotten to a point where it was very clear we needed a full-time pastoral leader. And Pastor Melvin Hayden and Pastor Wright got together. And unbeknownst one to the other, they both arrived at one name unanimously, and that was Pastor Paul Graham.
Well, I'd met Paul and knew of his ministry, knew of his zeal for the work, zeal for young people. He and I had a conversation in the past, and so we had a connection. I knew his brother Patrick, and brought Paul in last fall, and I think after the first conversation, I just knew this was the person.
At the time, Pastor Paul Graham and his family were living in New York City. Excited about the vision of the project, he felt impressed to accept the call by God and relocate to Maryland.
The issue was that there was no money involved, and that's where the faith came in. I was working as a teacher at this point in time, and I said to my wife, "Honey, let's move." And she said, "If you're willing to move, if you feel so strongly about it, I will work and take care of the family while you lead the congregation." And she did it.
The rest is history.
And when he came in, he began to do a lot of the footwork and legwork that really began to put things in focus.
Since November's launch in a rented church building, attendance has regularly topped 400 people per week. The Lanham Bowie project owes much of its rapid expansion to the simple zeal that members have for experiencing and sharing the mission. To do so, they're incorporating innovative ideas such as lay-led young adult ministry, using the latest technologies, and even embracing a fresh approach to Sabbath school.
I came here in November for the launch program, and I was praying about it and trying to see if this is someplace God would use me, and I felt impressed, so I signed up, and the next thing I knew, I was leading out with the young adults ministry.
We have Justice League meetings where we plan out and strategize ideas, and so I'm the one who with the technology and coming up with ideas and say, okay, we put things on Facebook, we need to put things on Twitter, we need to blog, we need to get into all of these different things.
And two of the organizations we're involved in is Sycamore Hills Assisted Living, where we go on Sabbaths and we have worship with the residents there. And we also visit Sarah's House, and that's a homeless shelter for families. We go and serve dinner and have worship with them, do children's programs for them on Sunday afternoons.
It's pretty exciting, especially when it comes to Sabbath school. You know, I grew up in the church, and pretty much somebody preaches to you from the desk, or somebody comes with their own itinerary for Sabbath school. But when you sit upstairs in these small groups, you can actually talk about your life, share your life stories and issues, and they're dealt with, and then we get into the lesson.
A great part of my ministry in the past have been what I knew instead of what I did. And what has happened in these 5 months that have passed is that I'm able to take the word that I believe that I always knew and apply it to action with a relationship with Christ.
Indeed, the Lanham Bowie project is filling a need in an area where there is no other church of its kind, and its leaders have an exciting vision for what it can become.
There are 3 different conferences in this one area: Potomac Conference, Chesapeake Conference, and Allegheny East. They each have churches around Bowie. Nobody has a church in Bowie.
My vision for Lanham Bowie project is to see in this community the largest North American, Black American community in terms of finances, in terms of professionalism in this country, to see us now reaching that group with a group of people who match them, the young, up-and-coming, young Black professional.
Moving forward, the church's aim is to train, equip, and mobilize its charter members to establish relationships so as to fulfill the Great Commission. The charge is to get active and stay active in the Lanham Bowie community.
If we don't meet the needs of the people, then we're not the church that God expects us to be. In essence, if the church was moved out of the community, we want the people to be able to say, we missed the church that was there. If we can't build that, then we have lost vision of what God expects from His people.
Ah I just got a few of my young pupils together, a little group in my living room, and said, let's do some playing together. Thought it might give them a little bit of interest. And it just simply was just unbelievable how it moved and grew and became the New England Youth Ensemble. Well, it's to the extent that it has now toured to 44 countries of the world in a mission to, as we say, share God's love through great music.
That mission to share God's love has led Dr. Virginia Jean Rittenhouse through the last 40 years of ministry. 15 years ago, she brought the group to Columbia Union College. Together with Dr. James Bingham, she set about inspiring students to embrace that vision and experience the mission. Their visionary efforts have created a legacy that has taken students from Columbia Union College, recently renamed Washington Adventist University, around the world and impacted their lives in no small way.
They've performed internationally, as well as in Carnegie Hall, and most recently right here in the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C.
So we've toured to, I can't even mention, Australia, 2 tours, South Africa, 5 tours, China, South America, all over Europe, Russia, on and on and on. And it's been a very warm, wonderful experience, and still is.
Well, not only has CUC provided me with traveling to 20 countries in the world, and I'm not even a senior in college yet, but almost every weekend we are traveling to churches, various Adventist churches, and providing great spiritual music.
I have friends that go to other schools, and they don't get as many performing opportunities as we do. And when I tell them, you know, this last summer that we went to Greece, Turkey, and also to Romania, all of these different countries, and what we were able to do. Like in Greece, we were able to sing an opera with soloists from the Met. And it was such a gratifying experience.
The mission that I really fell in love with Dr. Rittenhouse and Dr. Bingham is that not only do we have many opportunities to sing all around the world and perform in venues that no other Adventist college has performed at, but they strive for excellence and a quality of music for everything that we do, and I can really respect that, because I think in everything that you do in life should have the highest quality and level of excellence.
Our repertoire includes Mozart, Vivaldi, Ralph Vaughan Williams, Aaron Copland, and even Dr. Bingham's own music. And we've sung various types of music like the Renaissance, oratorio, just all types of music, spirituals.
And it's not just the amount of repertoire, but where we've been able to perform it is irreplaceable as well. I mean, that's another thing that blows people away. The mission, and to be able to work hard on this music and be able to take it and share it with people, there's nothing more fulfilling and more gratifying, because I think most places they practice and perform the music, but they keep it to themselves.
Sharing God's great love through music is what sets the music program at Washington Adventist University apart. Students aren't just studying, they're experiencing the mission for themselves. Indeed, lives are being transformed.
I can honestly say that I've received a closer connection with God by seeing how music, especially spiritual and sacred music, can influence those in Africa or in Brazil or in Argentina, and how it speaks to the soul with ease.
It's almost unbelievable what music, as they say themselves, they tell me over and over, you transformed my life. I have one, I won't quote names because these names are prominent names now in our denomination. One young man said to me, he said, I'll never be able to thank you enough. He said, you didn't know it. He said, I was just on the edge of drugs. I was going to be a drug addict. And he said, you came to ask me to play. And he said, the confidence you had in me that I could do, he said, made me, for the first time, believe I had something. And he said, I turned from the drugs and he said, changed my life. Today he's one of the leaders in our work.
I think the thing that makes my heart cheer the most is when I see that young people who I really, by my immediate reaction of how they were when they arrived, did not either have a vision of what their potential was, and certainly didn't have a vision of what their contribution to the church could be. And to have them write me letters, or I run across them from time to time over the many years that I've been teaching, tell me that they would not be members of the church if it hadn't been for being in the choir and having to go to church to sing until they got over Fool's Hill. I think that really is the thing that gives me the most satisfaction, that they feel that they have a connection with their Lord, they feel they are contributing to their church as a result of the ministry that we have been doing through the years with our music.
Under the leadership of Dr. Rittenhouse and Dr. Bingham, the music department has seen many dreams come true during the past 15 years. However, there is another dream they share with the students, administrators, and alumni, and that is to have a much-needed music building that will meet the growing needs of the university's choirs, orchestra, band, music majors, and the internationally acclaimed New England Youth Ensemble.
We have a fantastic music department, but I'd like to see us grow it even bigger and better. So I would love to see us build a new music building to better accommodate our students.
Recently, the school's board voted to do just that, to build a state-of-the-art music building funded by a state grant and upcoming fundraising efforts. Meanwhile, students in the music department will continue their ministry of sharing God's love through great music throughout the Columbia Union and around the world.
With students, with young people, and with audiences of all races and cultures and all, and it's been a wonderful way to reach people. As the night that it was premiered in Carnegie Hall, I got a standing ovation for my oratorio, and people said, this is music written for our time. And it was wonderful. They wanted to know, where did you get this book, the Revelation? I said, from the Bible. Oh, we're going to find this book. They found that the music, they said, your music has brought this book to life. That was one of the greatest compliments I felt, that they felt that my music had made the book of Revelation come to a vivid meaning, and they were going home to study it. And I thought, what better mission could music have than to lead to people wanting to study truth because they'd heard it in music, and that made me feel very, very gratified.
I remember in my 11th grade year really having a transcendent experience, an experience with God, when I walked out beneath the stars in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. Growing up in the inner city, I'd never really seen the stars before. And for the first time in this rural setting without street lights, I looked up and it was magical. And I was suddenly aware of the majesty and infinitude of the universe just by looking at what seemed to me to be an innumerable host of stars. And I was suddenly cognizant of how frail I am and how brief is my sojourn here. And that was an epiphany moment for me, and a moment where God connected with me and said, hello, I just want to introduce myself to you.
Barry Black was born and raised by a single mother in inner-city Baltimore, Maryland. He often says that he was anointed in his mother's womb because while pregnant with Barry, Pearline Black accepted the Adventist message and was baptized after attending a tent evangelism effort. She reared him in the Berea Temple Church and Baltimore Junior Academy, where he saw ministry in action, learned the value of Christian education, and was prepared for the journey God had in store for him. Strong in her faith, His mother inspired each of her children to be active in their church and community, something that had a lasting impact on Barry.
My mother had the gift of gab. She was able to articulate everything. She would be up in the forefront of the church speaking to people. She was able to influence them. She was able to get people to get involved. My mother brought a lot of people from the neighborhood into the church. She would bring people off the street from the different streets we lived on and bring them into the church and convert them over. My mother was a powerful woman, and I think a lot of her is in Barry.
After attending Pine Forge Academy and Oakwood College, now Oakwood University, Barry began his pastoral ministry in North Carolina. There he was led to become a chaplain at a nearby naval base. The Lord used Barry in a powerful way, leading him to the rank of Rear Admiral and making him the first African American Chief of Chaplains in the Navy's 227-year history. Upon his retirement, he received the call to serve as the 62nd Chaplain of the United States Senate, the first African American and Seventh-day Adventist to do so. Today, Chaplain Black, a sought-after speaker and best-selling author of From the Hood to the Hill, pastors a senatorial flock of 7,000. Recently, Columbia Union Conference President Dave Weigley talked with Chaplain Black about what his God-appointed journey has taught him about leadership.
Hey, thank you, Chaplain Black, for taking the moment to spend the time with us to share how God is using you right here in the United States Senate. You have a very, very significant role in giving a shepherding care to our United States Senators. What have you, perhaps I say, learned about leadership, or what have you seen as you look at how God is using you? What have you seen in that area?
Well, Longfellow, in his poem Psalm of Life, a Psalm of Life says, "Lives of great men all remind us we can live our lives sublime." I have learned a great deal in the military about leadership based upon significant leaders that I encountered. I had one leader, a Roman Catholic priest by the name of Julian Ganal, who truly mobilized the 12 chaplains at a recruit training command toward a shared objective. And what he did when he came in was he said, I want each of you to write down 6 goals that you would like to accomplish for the good of the command. His predecessor hadn't done anything like that at all. I mean, had not tapped into the creative resources of our minds, so, you know, and Ganal did. And as a result, an energy was created, and we were accomplishing some very significant things. And people who hadn't said very much were suddenly significant contributors. So I learned from that you must tap the rich resources that are available in the people you're serving. That was one. I worked for a fellow by the name of John O'Connor, who became Cardinal of New York, but he was the chief of chaplains at the time. I was a lieutenant. And I learned from John the importance of a vigorous work ethic. He was a brilliant man, but the hardest working person I've ever seen. First one in, the last one to leave. And it reminded me of Ecclesiastes 9:10, whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your might, for there is no work, no knowledge, no device, no wisdom in the grave where you're going. In other words, you'll get enough sleeping time in the grave, so let's get to it. A third lesson that I learned about leadership, I learned from again a priest by the name of Jim Conte. I was a chaplain at the Naval Academy 1979 to 83, and when I first arrived at the Naval Academy, the head guy, Jim Conte, captain, which is one level below admiral, picked me up at the airport. So I'm walking out of the airport, and there's the car, and Jim leaps out of the car, walks toward me, and reaches down and picks up my suitcases, and he beats me to the punch and heads to the car. And I'm stunned. I'm a lieutenant. He's stratospherically above me in terms of rank, And yet he's reaching down and picking up my up my suitcase, my suitcases, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, all right, let me just try to figure out what's going on here. And I learned about servant leadership, that it didn't matter that he outranked me significantly by multiple layers. He was there to serve, and that was what he could realistically expect from all of the people who were below him. If he, the leader, had the heart of a servant, then we should go and do likewise. So those are three valuable lessons that I learned about leadership. Tap into the rich resources of the people whom you're serving, because the ideas are there, the resources are there, and you really need to do that. Have a vigorous work ethic. Edison said, genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. And then have the humility to have the heart of a servant.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hey, wasn't that great? What a story about Chaplain Black making a difference right here in the nation's capital among our national leaders, being a chaplain, a spiritual leader for them. And the other stories about lay people in their own churches making a difference, and at the college, leaders for God. Like Lincoln, ordinary people making a difference in a very significant time. Right now, we live, I believe, in a critical time in our nation's history, in the world's history. It's time for dedicated Christians to utilize their gifts and make a difference for Jesus Christ and sharing the good news of His soon coming. So I appeal to you, be about utilizing your gift of leadership, to make that difference for Jesus Christ today and always.